I think there's a lot of misconceptions about YouTube, and some of them may have been true in the past. But for me, like the YouTube algorithm, you can just replace the word algorithm with audience. If you can make a really great video that people want to click on and then it's packed full of value that people then watch, then the algorithm will suggest that video to more people. And yes, you have to do the gimmicky things of packaging it with a really good thumbnail and an enticing title. And yeah, I agree. I find that really annoying, but that is how YouTube works.
Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Stream podcast. This is season 2 and we're kicking off the first episode with a content creator who's been in the streaming education space for over 5 years, has grown his YouTube channel to over 354,000 subscribers. And if you've seen an OBS tutorial on YouTube, you've probably seen this guy's face. Pete from Gaming Careers. It was such a pleasure to have him on. I got to ask him so many questions that I wanted to ask someone like this. And we talked a little about his journey in terms of content creation, some common misconceptions of YouTube, etc., and kind of how to get started with long form content, what analytics to look for, thumbnails, titles, all sorts. Twitch, YouTube as well. So yeah, it was a really good episode. I think you're going to get a lot of value from it. I really hope you do. But yeah, other than that, I hope you have a nice day and let's get into the episode. Pete, welcome to the podcast. This is actually going to be the first episode of my season 2 kind of series within this. I'm hoping to kind of change a few things, be a bit more clinical with my questions instead of waffling. But yeah, really excited to have you on. I've been thinking about this a lot all week. How's it going?
It's good, mate. Yeah, I'm very well. Bit of background for your audiences. We DM'd each other over Twitter. I'd already checked out your podcast. I really liked it. And we've had a couple of chats just talking YouTube and streaming, both London based. So yeah, very happy to be here, and I've been enjoying the podcast myself.
Why did you like it? Can I ask you a question? Can I ask some feedback? Like what was it that like made you want to DM me about it? Because I've never actually asked you this question.
I think the initial pull was that you worked at Twitch. So I was like, this is going to be quite interesting to listen to because he's got a unique perspective on streaming. Like he's industry side as well as, doing content yourself. So that's what like initially got me to listen to the first episode, I think. But then you seem pretty similar to me. Both got these monotone voices. So I wanted to see how you made that work. And I'm always interested in hearing people talk about their content, how they grow and all that kind of stuff. So it seemed interesting to me from the start and that's why I checked it out.
Sweet, thanks. I appreciate that. Well, just going into your background then, like you obviously run the Gaming Careers YouTube channel, and I would love it if you could go back to maybe the start of your content journey, so to speak, and how you ended up doing that as your main thing, whether you streamed before, kind of, where did it all start and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so... Well, for those that don't know what the Gaming Careers YouTube channel is, you can search it, but it's a big catalogue of videos that hopefully help people learn to live stream. So both tackling the technical side of setting up OBS and green screens and microphone reviews and things like that, but also the soft skills of growing an audience and how to work with brands and videos like that. But it's not been around for that long. Probably about 5 years now, which I guess is quite long in YouTube's terms, but I've been doing YouTube since I was like in my teen years, just silly gaming clips and things like that. Never got to a really, really huge states. Like I think I got a channel to about 6,000 subscribers, but that's small fries when compared to how big Gaming Careers is now. But plenty of experience, like plenty of practice editing videos. I don't think I ever made a thumbnail, so I couldn't say making thumbnails or titling videos, but editing videos and being in that gaming space, I had like plenty of experience in. But the actual Gaming Careers idea that came about basically because I'd streamed on Twitch myself. Like I've always massively been into video games. I knew that streaming and Twitch was going to be like a huge platform, but there wasn't very good content about how to set up those kind of things. There was a few videos out there, but they're mainly big streamers just talking through their settings. And that's not very useful for anybody because big streamers are streaming from a different location, different computer hardware, different internet connection. Like there's so many variables, but so if you just copy somebody else's settings, it doesn't really make that much sense. So I had a few months off between jobs and I was thinking, what am I going to do with my time? And I just thought, why don't I just make 5 or 6 videos on this idea? If they go nowhere, they go nowhere. I'm starting my job in a few months' time anyway. And if they do take off, then maybe it could be a little bit of side income. I definitely didn't have any aspirations of growing it into a full-time job, which is what it's obviously become. But yeah, there was a lot of thought that went into the kind of content. And the name Gaming Careers, originally I was thinking that it was going to be talking about making careers in gaming through both streaming and like content. But actually it's grown more into just a channel about live streaming now. So it doesn't have to be gaming. I have plenty of people in the community that reach out to me from churches or yoga classes or cooking shows that want to set up different aspects of their live stream. So yeah, maybe a little bit of regret that it's not called Streaming Careers or something like that, but stick with the name now anyway. And that's, yeah, I guess that's how it's all started.
So you said you streamed before. You didn't. What made you decide to go down the YouTube route rather than like streaming on Twitch? Because I guess if you streaming on Twitch 5 years ago, I mean,
I was streaming on Twitch like right back when Justin TV became Twitch.
Oh, okay.
So I got an original like partner contact where somebody just messaged me in chat saying, I work at Twitch, do you want to become a partner? And I was like, yeah, that was like what the contract was back then. But yeah, I was just streaming like a game called Team Fortress 2. It's like a 6v6 shooter by Valve. It has a really like close-knit community. So just because I had a good computer and a good internet connection, I started streaming that, only getting 30 to 50 viewers. Okay. And then that slowly built over time to maybe my peak streams were like 200 viewers, but certainly that wasn't the average, and got partner through that. But it was never, I guess I never really had the aspirations of wanting to be a big streamer. It's quite weird to say, I guess, for somebody that makes YouTube videos for their living, but I don't love being on camera. I don't mind it from time to time, but I don't like the idea of streaming 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, which is certainly what you had to do back then to grow on Twitch. And yeah, I could have been an early adopter and grown with the platform, but I don't know. It never really crossed my mind as that's what I wanted to do. As fun as playing video games are, playing them all day for an audience, I don't think is for me. And back then, when Twitch was a really early platform, the advice was stream one game and one game only, get big and known in that game, and then maybe you might be able to transition across. And I knew that no matter how much I loved the game at the time, in 5 years' time, I'm probably into something different, and I didn't want to, kill the joy of a game just because I had to stream it.
So when you started doing YouTube, you said you put together the 5 videos. Like, at what point did things start to become more serious? Like, what happened? I guess in the early stages for you to then think this is actually something that I could seriously do for a job.
Yeah, I remember like before filming any videos, I sat in bed and I wrote down like 100 video ideas because I was just like, is there enough content in this niche that I'm thinking of to actually keep it going? If I made, let's say, a video a week, and then it was quite clear that there's loads of content that I could make, and I just targeted because it was a brand new account. I targeted search terms, so just what I thought people would be searching, which I think back then was like how to make your blue microphone sound good, or like Premiere Pro render settings and OBS settings. And the OBS videos like instantly took off, and I really just doubled down on that, made more and more OBS guides, and the channel grew really quickly. I would like to say that it was like a lot of blood, sweat and tears, but honestly it picked up so quickly that it felt like a really natural thing just to keep going with it. I don't want to make it sound like it was all luck. As I said, I've had previous YouTube channels that were to do with gaming and things like that, but they were never tutorial based. But I had plenty of experience editing and filming video. So I already had a relatively nice camera and like a light, just from hobby videography. So that's again was part of the reason why I was like, what am I going to do in these 3 months between jobs? I might as well film a few videos. And honestly, by the time I started the job, the channel probably was around 5,000 subscribers and growing at like 100, 200 subscribers a day. So I knew I was onto something. And then I worked that job for about a year at the same time as doing the YouTube channel. And then when I moved in with my partner, I was like, maybe I'm going to give this YouTube thing a full go and quit my job. And built up a bit of an income and like a safety net, I guess. And then I also started doing Patreon at that time because I knew a lot of members of the community like wanted to support me in jumping into full time. So that helped, mitigate the risk, I guess, because I had that safety net of money in the bank account, but also members of the community supporting me via Patreon. And then after about a year of that, then I closed the Patreon because I was like, this is fine. I'm earning enough money. I don't want any other support. I'll just keep making videos. So, I mean, that's a whirlwind tour of how quickly it's gone. But if you actually think back and look at all the videos that I've made, then yeah, it's been a pretty steady 4 or 5 years.
So when in that year when you took your job on and you were then managing the YouTube videos, like I know a lot of people are in that position. Like, was that tough? Like, were you editing most evenings? Like, how did you manage like the balance of life doing YouTube channel alongside a full-time job?
I've always had the perspective of like not wanting to burn out, and I think I've been very aware of what that might look like. So I've never smashed out videos, multiple videos a week. It's always been one video a week at the absolute max, more like one video every 2 weeks. So even when I was working a full-time job, I basically just spent the weekends doing it. Obviously through the week I would be doing other things like answering emails and thinking of video ideas and maybe scripting ideas, but it didn't ever feel like I was, going crazy working a full-time job whilst making the YouTube channel, because there never has been a huge demand for more videos on my channel because it's tutorial based. People just choose whether or not they want to learn the next thing that I make a video about. There's obviously demand, people saying, could you make a video about this and this, but it's not like a vlog channel where people want to know what I'm up to. It's more just about what tutorial I next upload. So I've always had a good balance of making sure that it's still fun for me and that I don't burn out like so many creators do, because I guess around this sort of 5-year time of making content, you get a lot of YouTubers that do burn out and just stop making it. So I give myself a little bit of credit of like always thinking about the work-life balance and making sure that it's something that I keep wanting to do. And, I could have just kept making OBS videos the whole time. That might have grown my channel even bigger, but I wanted to do, the microphone reviews and the soft skills, like growing your channel and networking and things like that, as well as just purely OBS videos. Although those are still the videos that do the best. Definitely people see an OBS video on my channel and that's what they subscribe for, probably.
Do you think having that like consistent cadence of one per week, sometimes one per 2 weeks, then has been maybe part of your success and sustainability in doing what you do?
Yes and no. I haven't ever really had a proper schedule where a video goes out on a certain day every week.
Okay.
The opposite mindset that I have is when the video is ready, I'll release it, and I always want to make sure that I've just crammed in as much value as I can. So, for example, when I'd be researching a topic, I'd want to spend a lot of time going through OBS forums or the Twitch subreddit, making sure that I'm covering all the different angles of things that people commonly have issues with, rather than just making a quick video that gets something out. I want to make sure that it's evergreen as well, so the video could probably last for a few years. So the biggest videos on my channel are still from 3 or 4 years ago, and they're still getting views every single day, which is the nice thing about YouTube. But some careful planning in the research and scripting phase definitely helps them last for longer than a traditional YouTube video.
So you touched on then like you're searching through Reddit forums for to make sure you cover everything. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Like what were you is that where you're searching for ideas for videos and also searching for the kind of sub questions within the kind of, this is the video you want to make? What are the sub questions that people are asking within that topic on Reddit?
Yeah, exactly
kind
that.
of along the lines.
So, for example, let's say I'm making a video about making your webcam look good. I would spend a lot of time looking at the common issues people have with Logitech C920 or like whatever the most popular cameras are at that time, saving settings or exposure or lighting, and then making sure that I build that into the video that I'm scripting and researching to make sure that I'm covering as many angles of things that people could be asking as well. Because at the end of the day, YouTube is Google's video platform. So people typing in questions into Google or YouTube can pull up a video, even if it's only a small section of it. So if I can answer those certain questions, like how do you save your settings? Funnily enough, OBS has just released an update that makes that much easier. But back in the day, that used to be quite difficult and frustrating for streamers. And if I can answer that video answer that question in a video, which is all about webcam settings, then that makes a lot of sense to me, because it makes the video more valuable to viewers. And I think just that level of effort that I've put into the scripting and research is probably what's made my channel successful. There's certainly thousands of examples of people that have been successful because they've released on a weekly cadence or more frequently than that. That's never been something that I've really followed. Maybe it would have been even more successful if I had done, but again, making sure that I balance that with the things that I enjoy in life, I think has helped it stay fresh and stay interesting for me over the past 5 years.
That's really cool to hear, because I think a lot of people have that perception that you do have to post every week and you have to be consistent. And I've actually read a lot of people recently come out and said, actually, you don't. And actually, you're not going to get penalized by the algorithm because you haven't posted in a couple of weeks, as long as the video that you next post is high quality and kind of meets the demands of the audience that you're targeting that video with.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about YouTube, and some of them may have been true in the past. But for me, like the YouTube algorithm, you can just replace the word algorithm with audience. Like if you just make the best video possible for an audience, and you know that there's an audience there, and yes, you have to do the gimmicky things of packaging it with a really good thumbnail and an enticing title. And yeah, I agree. I find that really annoying, but that is how YouTube works. If you can make a really great video that people want to click on, and then it's packed full of value that people then watch, then the algorithm will suggest that video to more people. But you can't complain about videos not being picked up in the algorithm. The majority of the time, the video is just not very good or very interesting. Like I've reviewed a lot of content through this being my job back in the days when I used to do it as one of the Patreon perks as well. And it's funny how much just comes down to, is the content good or not? And it's the same with streaming. Like there's so many streamers that try and make it. And if you really watch with a critical eye, like you review your own videos and your own streams, you just got to be like, is this good content? Like, would I watch this, or is it actually a bit boring, a bit non-interesting? And that's the same with YouTube. So yeah, there are definitely misconceptions and annoying parts of YouTube, but I think the algorithm, the way to think of the algorithm is just the audience. Like every decision I've made on my YouTube channel about any video or how I do anything, how I work with brands, I've always just put the audience at the front of my head, and it's worked for me. Like if you just do right by the audience, YouTube will help you on the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I've also been learning that as well, because I had lots of misconceptions. I'm curious then, like what were your biggest misconceptions when I say when you first started to now, or another way of me asking that question is like, what do you think is more important now compared to when you first started? Like, when you first started, were you doing something that you now think I was spending too much time doing that? It didn't need to do that. This should have been my focus. And like, have you found that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's changed in YouTube in 5 years. Like thumbnails and titles are way more important than they used to be.
Why?
I mean, I think that's probably just because there's more competition, and like as everything else gets leveled up, like people's production quality gets leveled up, so the thumbnails must have to as well, because there's just more competition. At the end of the day, you're competing for somebody's time on YouTube, and your video is probably next to 15 or 16 other videos, and you want them to click on yours. And you're not even competing in the same niche. Like people are going to get different suggestions depending on what kind of things they've watched. So yeah, definitely thumbnails and titles, and that's something that have gotten a lot better. But I don't think there is a single YouTuber or content creator that you could give them some content from 4 years ago that wouldn't cringe watching it. Like if I look back at my early videos, I thought I knew a lot about filming. Like, and then, you know, I see myself and I've got my face is in the very middle of my frame. I've got so much headspace. I'm like right next to the camera. There's loads of comments about how often I blink. I'm breathing in really loudly. Like there's hundreds of things that I would change if I look back. But I kind of know that it's exact same today. I film a video today and I'm really happy with it today as it goes out. In 4 years' time, I'm going to watch that back and be like, oh my God, look at this and that. And how did I think that was a good idea? That's just how you evolve as a content creator. Like you won't find a single person that won't cringe watching back content from multiple years ago, I don't think. So I've certainly learned a lot, but I don't know how much really I would change, because everybody has to go through that journey of learning. And I think it's rare that you're going to find somebody that's creating content and the very first video is super high production quality straight away. Like even you look at the really big names like Peter McKinnon, he was a professional photographer, videographer, and even his first videos, you can look back and be like, oh, this weird lighting that he's done now, he's too close to the frame, his audio is not very good, all those kind of things. And he's probably the one that people would say has always had really good quality videos, but even him, you could look back.
I think that's why a lot of people are scared to do YouTube, is because they're just already comparing themselves to massive channels. I think I used to be like that, and a lot of people, they see someone in their niche and they want to create content like them, and they think that they can recreate that, But unfortunately, they don't have unlimited time. To be, if we did, then I think you could. But like, you just yeah, I think people just are scared because I think they think that YouTube has to be super high quality.
Yeah,
I don't think it does.
They think
I
it
don't
has
think
to be
always
super
does.
high quality and super frequent. But I would
Yeah.
say that more so than ever, subscribers mean literally nothing on YouTube anymore. Like, just make the best video that you can, and if that takes you a month and you can only release 12 videos a month because you're working a full-time job or you've got a family or whatever, there are, again, hundreds of examples of channels that do that. That you just want to make the best video possible, get that out, and then get started on the next one. And I've always focused on quality, but not actually the production quality, more the quality of what you're delivering, the quality of the content that you're delivering. That's what you need to deliver, because at the end of the day, you're biding for people's time, and the only guaranteed way to make them feel like they've spent a good amount of time watching your content and it wasn't a waste of time is to provide some kind of value. And that could be comedic value. It doesn't have to be educational. But if you focus on making sure that your videos or your live streams are in some way valuable, then I think that's the best mindset to have. Don't worry about production quality and having all the fancy gear. There's far too many people that want to have the perfect setup before they start recording. But you learn so many skills along the way of the first 50 videos that you make, that you can worry about cameras and fancy lights after that. Like, everyone has a phone nowadays that's better than the camera that I started YouTube with. So just get started with that.
You say 50 videos there. Is that what you should? Because I've seen, I know Ali Abdul, like we've spoken about him before when we spoke the other week. I've seen a video of him saying, make 100 videos before you even start caring about what your videos are like. And I guess maybe from that comment you've just made, it's probably along the similar lines as actually just keep creating, move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I took a much smaller subset than that. When I had that time between jobs, I was like, I'm going to make 5 videos.
Yeah.
And let's just see how they do. But before those 5 videos, I'd probably made 50 on different channels. So I had the experience of like editing 50 videos and working out how to make some sort of story out of a video before that. But yeah, I think the common one is like Marcus Brownie had, I think, 82 subscribers after 100 videos or something like that. There's some number where he made 100 videos for less than 100 subscribers. Shit. So, and he's now one of the biggest streamers, biggest content creators on the platform.
I went and watched his first YouTube video actually the other month. I scrolled all the way down to I got all the way down to the bottom, and it's just him doing this phone review. Like, just it's this.
I think it's a remote for his laptop that he has. It's like
it's some sort of device or something. And I was like, like if you just need the perfect example of like where someone started to where they are now. Like, I know times aren't like that anymore, but like. That's it.
Yeah, if you want inspiration of where people started from, just scroll back and hope they haven't deleted it. Like, people that delete their first few videos, I don't understand. It's inspiration for somebody else. So you can go back and look at my first. I've got videos on my channel thanking people for hitting 100 subscribers, which just seems mad now. Like, I've got a video thanking people for 100 and 500 and 1,000. And it seems crazy to think that I made a video about that, but that's just how gassed I was, I guess, at the time.
Yeah. I actually think that is such good advice, and like of just any creator that you aspire to be on YouTube, like go and look at their first video, because people are just comparing themselves to their video today. But actually, like when you go and look at their first video, you think, actually, like they started there and now they're here. Like, I need to stop comparing myself to them when they've already done 200 videos.
You've also got, I think, the unique thing about today is that we have this short form video, like pandemic basically, where you've got TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. The barrier for creating content is so low now. Like, you can get into it with just your phone, no fancy microphone, no fancy lighting, like just using your phone. You can create one video that goes out to 3 different platforms. That didn't always used to be the case, where I think a lot of people that started on YouTube felt that they had to buy some kind of video camera to be able to film their videos if they were going to be on camera. If not, then a good microphone to do the voiceover and things like that. So take advantage of the fact that we have this like shorts algorithm where you can there's so many channels that are starting brand new and getting so many views because they're creating good content, and it's not good quality. It doesn't have to be an amazing camera, it doesn't have to be amazing audio, but the content that they're making is really high quality. And then eventually you can transition that into YouTube videos or live streams once you've got a few repetitions in and you know exactly what's involved.
Why don't you create more short form?
Funny discussion, actually. We've just started making more. It's taken me about a year to agree with the fact that it might be around for longer than I think I was always skeptical because like I'm a little bit older now. I'm 32 and I feel like I've seen a few platforms come and go like Snapchat and things like that I've never really put any effort into. Vertical videos has been around for over a year now and doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And the fact that YouTube have just announced that they're now monetizing shorts as well. So it makes sense. And to be honest, I've forced myself to consume a few and now I can kind of see the appeal, which I probably should have done from day one. But I didn't really understand how I was going to do it from the educational side of things. Like, how am I going to cram a 15-minute video into 60 seconds? But I've seen a few examples of people doing it really well in other niches. And I'm like, I'm just going to implement that. So just to timestamp this, we've just released the Elgato Wave DX review, microphone review, as a video last week or the week before, I think it was. And we made a short about that. And that's the first one that we've we've put a lot of time into. We've done a few tricks so it loops perfectly. We've got nice subtitles throughout. It was super, super simple to make as well. From my point of view, obviously my editor, Chris, had to start making a template that has all the subtitles. But I just recorded, I wrote a script that I knew would loop perfectly, recorded it through the microphone. We already had all the B-roll shot for the main video on the channel. So it was just slapping all of that on, subtitling it and getting it out. And I think we're going to try and do basically a year of at least one short per long form video. And, you know, I don't even necessarily think that we need to see through the stats that it's making a huge difference in viewership or subscriber count. It's all about just being top of mind. I think like it's putting your voice out there just in a short form. It's kind of the same as Instagram stories. I remember somebody telling me you don't always have to think about creating something amazing just to put on your story. Really, all you're doing is reminding your audience that you exist and that you're around. And I feel kind of the same way with shorts. If they're really low friction to make them, and they may do well for your channel. Like it's a very low hanging fruit for me when I've already recorded all the like high production B-roll for a video anyway. So I'm glad you asked that question because I need to remind myself like we should be making nice easy shorts for all the long form videos. Also, another reason I held back on it for so long was it wasn't separated. So I felt really funny about posting to the subscription feed like a short form video, which is a bit of a long form video already. So people be like, I've already watched this. Like, why are you posting this again? But now there's more options. You can choose not to post it to the subscription feed, but you can also, they're also starting to merge them together. So people that watch a lot of your shorts might start to get suggested when they're browsing for long form videos as well. So that's kind of the way that I've always treated new features from YouTube's perspective. Like I didn't live stream through YouTube for a long time either because there was concerns that it would mess up how videos would do in the algorithm afterwards. So give it a bit of time, understand it, and then find a way of doing it that you really like. And I think we found that now. So who knows, somebody listening to this interview in 6 months' time can go and check the Gaming Careers YouTube channel, click on the shorts tab and see if I've kept up to my word of making one per long form video. But that is the plan. And now that we have like a template in place, it should be pretty low friction to create.
So it's just gonna be one per long form on YouTube.
That's what I'll commit to now. Yeah, you just make one video and you post it to all three. Like again, super low friction. But then we also have like the Gaming Careers podcast, like quite easily if we have some nice highlights from that. I think they naturally just work so well through that vertical video format. So you should be doing the same with these.
Yeah, I have. I've got quite a few clips. Like I'm just trying to work out. Like it's super difficult to work out what clips people want to digest from a podcast when it comes to short form, especially when people in the podcast aren't people that everybody knows, right? Like, which like, because I watch the Sidemen do a lot of stuff with their podcasts and stuff and around that, but like people know who they are, they instantly watch. So it's like, how do you find good hooks within a kind of free flowing casual conversation to then use?
It's just got to be
short form.
It's just got to be that first 5 seconds, like the question hook, or
it's difficult.
It's strong opinion.
Yeah, it's very difficult, I think, but it's easy because I always thought the content is there. So it's like actually like the hard part's been done in recording it, and all I have to do is just figure out, I like that clip. That's valuable. Like let me try that. I would like you to attack reels, but differently, right? Like in a way that uses your B-roll with your B-roll with good sounds and no education. It's a bit off-brand for you, but I think you could blow up your Instagram account by doing it, because I've been thinking about it a lot this week in terms of like, we're digressing here, but I think a lot of gamers don't like doing reels. They ignore Instagram. They ignore Instagram because their reels don't do very well. And if you go on reels, it's a very different experience than on TikTok and Shorts. Most of the shit is like 7 to 10 seconds, some emotional, like motivational sound with like very scenic and aesthetic looking stuff, like clip, like kind of different, like 5 or 6 different cuts on the beat to a song. And I actually, because I've been thinking about doing it for myself, because I don't think like podcast and streaming education content does that well on reels. I just don't think people digest that content there. But they'll happily watch someone like do loads of different cuts through their gaming setup that looks really cool because they got nice lights. And I think that you probably got shit tons of B-roll that you could easily push out.
So much B-roll,
like really nice edited like cuts of different equipment and stuff, to try and maybe do better on the real algorithm to find people who are your audience, which might not necessarily be streamers, they might be gamers, right? I think the streaming and streamers and gaming audience kind of overlaps. They like tech, they all have a desk with a PC and loads of shit on it. Like, and I think I definitely I'm just going to put that idea in your head, because I think
that's interesting that you've noticed the difference between what succeeds on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. I mean, I don't browse TikTok at all, but I have browsed Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts quite a bit. But to me, it's like the only reason YouTube Shorts seems a bit better to me is because I'm logged into my account, so it kind of knows the kind of long form videos that I already watched. So maybe it's more tailored already.
Yeah. Now I've just noticed it recently, and I've been thinking about it a lot in terms of like I know Instagram's super valuable to people, like because like my sister she has an Instagram account and she does reels. She does like sort of content she creates is like that. It's like home decor stuff, and I'm trying to think like, how could I create some education and advice to people that are doing gaming and streaming? That's like, okay, you do this for TikTok, but like posting your TikToks on Reels just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like, I've seen so many people try it and it just doesn't work. And I think like when you've got more time, you have to think about like how does your audience consume, even with the short form stuff, like how does your audience consume different types of content within your niche on different platforms? Because a lot of people use Reels that don't actually use TikTok. And I've just been finding lots of people within kind of the streaming education niche and even other niches of education. Their videos don't go viral on Instagram like they do on TikTok, which that tells me something. If videos are not going viral on Instagram, then they're not the right videos for Instagram.
Interesting. I mean, I'm still a bit of a novice when it comes to shorts, but it's always interesting to hear, people's thoughts on that kind of stuff. I've seen the few shorts that I've posted. Some do really well on TikTok, some do really well on Instagram, some do really well on YouTube. It seems to be luck of the draw, and also they seem to pick up at different points. Like I've had shorts that haven't done very well, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just seem to pick up. So I'm not going to worry myself too much about it. For me, I'm just going to treat it as a nice, easy task. Get it done. Don't dive into the analytics. Like, I try and keep myself out of that as much as I can, just to make sure that I'm in the right headspace and not being down in the dumps just because a video is not doing well in views. So I'm just going to treat it as a nice, easy task that we do. And maybe in a year, we look back at how it's done and then think about strategy.
Do you think it could be content that's more like a passion project, like content that do you have anything that you want to create that doesn't fit within your YouTube channel that you've always wanted to do more stuff on? You surely must have as a content creator, like, I do nice desk setup, lifestyle stuff, or I don't know whether you've ever thought about that, or you're quite happy with the OBS.
I've never had any pull to do any lifestyle stuff, let me tell you that much.
No.
Maybe like when you hear about all these like vloggers getting free hotel stays in Abu Dhabi and things like that, then I'm like, maybe if I just did hotel reviews, I'd have the same.
You get a good sponsor.
Yeah. No, for me, I mean, that was the nice thing about starting the podcast. The podcast was kind of a way of being able to cover all the kinds of things that I wanted to talk about, but they didn't really make sense to make into a video.
Okay, yeah.
So there's just so much live streaming industry news every single week. especially as the big players like Twitch and YouTube and Facebook all competing. So they're all competing for streamers and viewers. So they're just pumping out updates for the platforms. There's loads of new tech coming out. There's loads of industry gossip as well. And I didn't want to make videos on those kind of things. So that's what's been nice about having the podcast, is that's the place to discuss some of those bits.
Let's talk about YouTube and Twitch then. Like what's your opinion on whether someone should stream on Twitch or YouTube? Do you think there are different use cases depending on the individual and where they are at in their journey and what their goals are? I'm curious to hear your opinion on that, because it's one that obviously gets discussed and debated all the time on Twitter. Yeah, and with recent stuff that's been going on. Just wondering.
I mean, I think I would usually advise just creating the content on the platform that you enjoy watching and that you have the most interest in, because then you're going to have a better understanding of that platform as well. I certainly don't think it's crazy to start streaming on Twitch in 2022 or start streaming on YouTube in 2022. If anything, those platforms are the most similar that they've ever been over the past 3 years. 3 years ago, like, starting a stream on YouTube was probably seen as like a bit of a riskier move because the platform was still sort of becoming what it is today. And there's still like some discrepancies in terms of features, but wherever your audience you think they consume, like, again, we can answer it from the podcast point of view. So we live stream our podcast and we do it on YouTube because obviously there's already a big subscriber base for the channel on YouTube. But also I feel like a lot of creators learn about Twitch and the streaming industry through YouTube rather than through Twitch. And I just, I was a big believer in like the ecosystem that they're building with them being a video site and then having live streams and shorts, and they can add features to that, whereas Twitch has never looked like they want to take on any kind of other social media platform. They just want to be for live. So even like the VOD system on Twitch, I just don't think it's very good. It's never really had any attention from them. So like, if you record a podcast, how many people are going to find the VOD on Twitch? Very, very few. Whereas YouTube has that whole search system, playlists, all those kind of things to help you get there. So I mean, for new streamers, I don't think you can go wrong with either of those two platforms, or even with Facebook. And my advice would be maybe to multi-stream to a few of them whilst you haven't signed any kind of contract. See which one you like the most. See which one the community, that the content you're creating seems to gravitate to and watch you on the most, and then create on that one. I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Saying that, you could do YouTube for everything. You could create long form, short form, and live all on YouTube. I'd say that's a lot less risky than doing it all on Twitch or all on Facebook, because YouTube's just stood the test of time and has been one of the best places to create content and get paid for it. But the other way around of doing it is to stream on Twitch and then create content on YouTube for long and short form, and then supplement that with TikToks and things like that. I think really you can't go wrong nowadays with which place you start to stream. Again, probably people spend too much time comparing them and working out the ideal plan for their first stream, when really you need to probably get 50 streams under your belt before you even know which platform might be best for you.
I agree. Like, I just see it all the time, people battling. Like, I don't think there is a better place to start. Like, someone said it the other day, and it kind of resonated with me, is that I think the problem we've got with YouTube is that YouTube is a predominantly a VOD platform, and they will always prioritize VODs over live streaming. And I think the issue you have with live streaming on YouTube is that there are always VODs on the side. There's always a distraction for you to go and watch a VOD whilst you're kind of watching someone live stream in your session on YouTube. I feel like there are more distractions where on Twitch, someone will go on Twitch and they'll maybe watch one person or a couple of people live streaming in their Twitch session. So I always think that that's something that YouTube has always going to have an ongoing battle with, in that actually, like, they're a VOD first platform where Twitch is a live streaming first platform. And I do think that YouTube, because YouTube offers all three, like I said, I always think that it offers shorts, long and live streaming. But then I think that Twitch has always got something in its pocket because it's live streaming first. And I think that's what people forget about, even though we seem to hate Twitch at the moment because of X, Y, and Z. But I think you need to, they forget that.
I mean, what you've described there about the distraction is basically, if you flip it on the other side, is discoverability. Like, it's a way of being discovered even when somebody's watching other kinds of content. So YouTube definitely has the best system for a brand new content creator to get discovered. If you make a really good video on YouTube, and I mean like really good, where me and you would review it and be like, that was great content. Like I really enjoyed watching that. You could do that from a zero viewership YouTube channel, but you couldn't do that from a zero viewership Twitch channel because of the problems with discoverability. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like there are distractions and there are plenty of opportunities for people to click off and watch something else, and you don't get the same watch time as you do like as a live streamer on Twitch, where if people settle into your stream, you can quite easily have 4-hour watch times. There is more distraction on YouTube, but it also helps you get discovered. You could be that distraction. You could be that thumbnail showing up on somebody else's stream that gets a click, and then somebody becomes a new follower of your channel.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's almost it's in my opinion, it's YouTube, which is like I said, it's discoverability versus a better community experience probably at the moment. Like Twitch is just a better experience as a viewer. Like all the YouTubers will say it. And I saw Ludwig has done a video recently about him saying like YouTube just doesn't have what Twitch has in terms of the live streaming experience. And so what do you value more, giving a better live stream experience to your viewers or discoverability? Like it's kind of this, I don't know, that's an impossible question to know which one or the other, because if you go for YouTube and you want more discoverability, you sacrifice some of the experience, but then how much does that hinder your growth because you're growing because of the discoverability? So I think stream on Twitch, create YouTube VODs, like I think
when you mentioned Ludwig, I think one thing that I've heard him say before, which I think a lot of people could apply to their idea of streaming, is he goes into every stream with a plan, and that plan turns into a YouTube video. So he's literally every single stream he's thinking about the YouTube video that stream is going to turn into, and that's such a great way of thinking about content. Like he's not just going live and playing the same game every day and then just hopefully having some funny moments or some epic moments from that he'll turn into YouTube videos. He's making some kind of hour-long challenge or tier list or GeoGuessr based game that has stakes, it has a storyline built into it, and he's made that into a stream. And I think we're going to see more and more streams be on par with what you expect from a YouTube channel and like an edited video, because it's, at the end of the day, it's higher quality content. Like it's more thought out. There's been more thought put into the story and the stakes and why somebody should watch. And I think a lot of streamers could learn a lot. Like you're not going to get famous. The big streamers that have got famous and grown with Twitch that can just still play video games all day, there's not many of them coming out brand new streamers nowadays, just getting big from streaming a game. Even if you're amazing at a game and you're a pro player, you're kind of tying yourself so closely to that game that you're not going to survive when that game becomes boring for viewers. So I think we're going to see more creators taking that Ludwig approach, where they're thinking about the content that they make whilst live that they can then turn into a video that goes onto YouTube, or a short form video that goes onto TikTok or another platform like that.
I'm glad you said that. Like just going over the last point, it's what's happening with Warzone, because that's the game that I played, and Warzone was in lockdown the game that everyone wanted to watch, and now streamers are struggling because they've just rested on just turning on the stream and just playing the game. And your point about Ludwig is, I preach it all the time. I think I've watched Ludwig's video on it, and I think Devon Nash's video on it as well about that. And I always remember Ludwig saying that he would spend 2 or 3 hours planning like a 2-hour stream. Like he would put that time in, and I'm always preaching that as well. Like because it makes the stream, it gives the stream structure. Like you said, it's a story. People there's like this, and I've seen a few creators doing it now, and I always am saying, like, you want to be, streaming is so competitive now. You want to stand out. You want to be not the best, but you want to strive to be the best. This is what you need to be doing. Like, you can't just be going live. I mean, some people can. Some people, like, I feel have just got that, like, streaming personality where they've just got it. They're just the person that everybody likes, and they can wing it kind of. But I think there are a lot of people that are starting streaming that unfortunately don't have that. I didn't have that. Like, I'm just too, I say I'm a bit boring. Like, I'm too unenthusiastic. I don't have that. Like,
preaching to the choir, mate. I'm exactly the same.
I don't have that super likability factor that I feel like I needed for Twitch. So if I don't have that, like, how doesn't mean I can't be successful. It means that, but I've got to work fucking hard to make my live streams really fucking good. And I think a lot of people are scared to doing that because it requires more work. It requires more work. It requires lots more work. And it's hard.
But you can always look up that scale. Like, I think sometimes I think, oh, I wish I could just vlog. Like, I could just make a video in 2 hours, me going to get coffee. But then I also look at the much harder scale, and there's people like Mark Rober who spend a month building some insane engineering system just to make a video out of it. And I'm like, well, my videos on OBS are much, much easier than his. So, like, you can always be jealous of somebody's ability to create content out of nothing, out of just being themselves. But at the same time, if you can make content creation work for you in some capacity, if it's streaming or through VOD platforms, then I think you just got to count yourself lucky, because it's so competitive. So many people want to do it. And if you put the work in and can grow your channel, then I think you should just be happy with that, rather than feeling jealous of other people's content being easier to make, so to speak.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, though. I think, I mean, you just need a lot of skills to be a good content creator, and those skills aren't developed overnight. And I think that's what a lot of people expect that. I think TikTok has almost fucked it, because TikTok has just egoed a lot of people into thinking that they're better than they are, because they can get numbers on the algorithm that makes them think that they're now like a really good content creator, when actually no, it's just because the algorithm just can give you lots of views, and I think that's a problem. I think there's one that I definitely had. Like, I thought I was better at creating content than I was, because I'd have the occasional shitty video go viral and I think, oh yeah, this is good content, but it's, look at it, guys, it's not good content. It's really not that good content.
We're gonna reach like a point, I think, where somebody's gonna work out what a view is worth on TikTok versus a view on YouTube, because and when I'm saying YouTube, I don't mean shorts, I mean actual traditional long form. When somebody watches a video on YouTube, they've made the conscious decision to click on your thumbnail or title to watch that video. Whereas TikTok's just served to you. You just swipe up, it's the next video that the algorithm recommends. So, like, there's a massive difference between a view on each platform, and I think I completely agree with you. You see loads of people talking about how many views they've done on TikTok, and I'm like, you almost can't use it as a metric, because it's not the same as a view on a YouTube video. Yeah,
no, I always see that as well. I'm like, well, how much do you money make? How much money do you make from TikTok? I think, well, nothing from the Creator Fund, no sponsored videos. Oh, so you've got 200-300K on TikTok, but you don't make any money from TikTok. What does that tell you? It tells you the value of the view is fuck all, basically, or you're not doing enough to go and outreach to find sponsors. One or the other, probably a bit of both. So I always think the YouTube subscriber has a lot. It definitely has a lot higher value, especially when you're looking for sponsors as well. I just wanted to go, because it's on my list of things to ask you, and we touched on it, but I want to talk thumbnails and titles, right? Because let's say I'm a streamer and I want to start YouTube, right? And we've gone over the kind of, the video doesn't need to be super high quality, lots of cuts, like amazing. It just needs to be valuable. Okay, right, I've done my 10-minute video, it's valuable. Like, the thumbnail and the title, like, how am I getting people to click? Like, what is it that you've learned that has been successful for you in terms of like seeing high CTR on your title and thumbnail?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of learnings, I think, in that time. If you look back at my early thumbnails and titles, they were very formulaic. Especially the thumbnails were all the same, like yellow, orange, gradient text, like 4 words roughly, which highlight the main bit of the video that I was talking about. And the title would just be, for search, it would be how to do something, how to add a music ticker in OBS, how to add a countdown timer in OBS. And they certainly did really, really well for me. But it gets to a point where people are now not really searching for videos and just getting them recommended. That's the growth of how the platform works and how all platforms are working through algorithms. So now they have to be a bit more, I mean, the term that people would use would be clickbaity, but we're not talking about like the clickbait from 2-3 years ago, which was blatant lying. Like YouTube is way, way smarter now, where if your video title and thumbnail are really clickable, but then there's no value in the content and people are only watching for 10 seconds because it's obviously a fake claim, then that video is not getting promoted anymore. So you have to clickbait in terms of making something enticing to click on. So asking a question or leaving something unanswered, or basically putting an idea into the viewer's head that they then want to resolve that question. So let's look at the Elgato Wave microphone. I think I titled that something like Elgato's first XLR microphone. Is it worth $99? Something like that. That's an unanswered question that people want the answer to. And specifically with tutorials, it's kind of weird to arrive at like an enticing title, because you want to just name it what it is, but that won't do well. I want to just name it that this is a tutorial to learn this, but that won't do well. So you do have to think about packaging it in a certain way. If I wanted to talk about a certain tool, it ends up having to be like 7 free tools for Twitch streamers. It has to be enticing in some way to click on. And to be honest with you, the way that I've learned to do titles and thumbnails is just by consuming a hell of a lot of content and thinking about why certain thumbnails and titles do well and practicing. Like, I'm not artistic in the slightest, but I've learned Photoshop and I've learned to make pretty clickable thumbnails, I think. And spending a lot of time on them as well. I think there's probably, people think that you just jump in and make something last minute, whereas unfortunately it's kind of the opposite now. Like I can quite easily spend 3 or 4 hours on a thumbnail, and I do have help now. I have people that send me ideas for thumbnails, or can help with certain ideas that I hadn't thought of necessarily for a thumbnail. But spending a lot of time on a thumbnail even before creating a video, and then thinking about how that first 30 seconds of your video answers the question of your thumbnail, or answers the intuition that people will have after clicking on it. It's still something that I'm learning. I'm glad to hear that you think that my thumbnails look good, because I also do think that they look good, but I have to make 2 or 3, and then if they don't perform, then I swap it out for another one. And you just don't really know how the audience is going to react to certain kinds of thumbnails and titles. But at the end of the day, make as good content as you can and package it in a way that you think will entice a viewer to watch it, but is in no way going to leave them dissatisfied that they didn't get the answer that they wanted.
Nice. So when you create your thumbnails and your titles, like, how often are you doing? Do you ever get mind block like with them? Do you said you do this in 3 or 4 hours, but will you just like sit on them and then maybe like come back? Because like I found that like sometimes I just can't think, and then a couple of days later I'm like, that works.
Yeah, or
like,
going back and changing thumbnails of videos that I've released in the past, and then I'll just sit down and be like, oh, why did I never think of doing this instead?
Yeah.
Because I was just in a mind block. Probably because I'd been editing that video all day and my brain was just full of fuzz. It's certainly been more of a recent effort, I think, on our part to think about how we're going to thumbnail and title a video before we start scripting it, especially just so that we get that first 30 seconds, which is so important in a YouTube video, to make sure that you're delivering on the expectation that somebody has after clicking on a video. Because I think people are so wary of these years of clickbait that they've had, that when they see something, they want to know straight away, is this the right video for the question that I have in my head? So if you can deliver on that in the first 10 seconds, that's just as important. So really, the 3 things to focus on if you're a content creator now, making videos on YouTube that need to be clicked on: thumbnail, title, and like the opening sequence, basically. We've started trying to have the first 10 seconds just packed full of B-roll, like kind of quick cuts, but also very good looking shots, and not necessarily my face straight away, because I'm sure there's people out there that have watched one of my videos before and not enjoyed it. So we don't want to give them any opportunity to think it's anything other than what they clicked on. So if you look at any of the recent videos, we're just trying to deliver that value like up front as quickly as possible, and make it kind of hard hitting and constantly moving for the shorter attention spans that people have nowadays.
Interesting. I didn't think so. Yeah, I've seen some of your recent thumbnails. They don't have your face on them. They're just
I mean, that's something that basically every thumbnail will probably make, one with my face in and one without. If I had it my way, none of them would. I don't think I have a very clickable face. I don't like seeing my face in thumbnails, but unfortunately there is some like psychology behind people recognize the brand, and exactly the same as like I just said, some people might not like my videos and when they see me decide not to watch it. Some people will see my face in a thumbnail and be like, oh, I've watched this stuff before. It's going to be a good review or a good tutorial. So yeah, we probably usually make one of with the face and without, and then decide on one, and if it performs well then we just leave it, and if we don't then we change it up. But if I had it my way I wouldn't, because I hate the stupid like reaction face. Like it feels so stupid to be taking a photo of yourself with your mouth open trying to entice somebody that it's the most epic video that they're going to watch, when realistically it's a tutorial video or a review of a microphone or something like that. Like but there is definitely some human psychology to like seeing a face in a certain emotion and then wanted to click through to it. So still something that we're learning about, if I'm being completely honest.
What were you I've got a few more questions on this topic and then we can wrap up. Like what sort of CTR do you look for on your thumbnail to what's a good performing CTR on your channel versus not so good, and what's the threshold for you deciding we should probably change the thumbnail here?
Interestingly enough, it's not actually based on the CTR. So one thing that I think there's a common misconception with CTR that, you know, if it's below 5, change it, or if it's above 5. But my highest performing videos, I've got maybe 4 or 5 that are over 1 million views now, have super low CTRs, super low, like 1%, 1.5, 2%. And that's because when a video does really well, YouTube starts to recommend it to more and more people, which is naturally going to mean that it's being placed in front of more people and less people are clicking on it. So, and the opposite is also true. I'll have videos that don't do well at all that have 10% CTR. So CTR as a metric is actually, I think, a bit confusing and not really worth looking at. A better metric, actually, I think, is views on a video based on how many times it's been suggested to somebody. So if you work that out yourself, it's not necessarily how many people are clicking through, but it's how many people are then watching your content and how long they're watching it for. And YouTube is using a combination of average view duration, click-through rate, and what people do at the end of your video. Do they stick and watch another one? Do they stay on the platform? Do they leave YouTube entirely? There's so many different factors that go into the algorithm and when a video is suggested that I personally don't like to get lost in the numbers. I'll be analytical, but only a week after a video is released. I'll even stay away from the view count or the YouTube dashboard where it gives you, the 1 out of 10 confetti or the 10 out of 10, your video sucked, stop making content, please. Because it's so bad for your mental health. I would spend the rest of the day so happy when I had a 1 out of 10, or I'd literally be sad for a couple of days and I couldn't put my finger on like, why am I feeling down? And in the back of my head, I know it's because my YouTube video is doing well or not doing well. And like, it almost doesn't matter if you are happy with the video that you've made and you think it's a good reflection on the content that you create. Don't worry about it in the first day. Like, don't let it affect you how it's done. If it's done really well, don't be really happy. If it's done really badly, don't. And the easiest way to remove that is to not check. And then when I come back after maybe 2 or 3 days, when I'm not so attached to all the work that I did to make that video, to actually look at it with a bit more of an analytical mind and think, okay, this video is doing well in this aspect, but not enough people are clicking on it. Could we change the title? Could we change the thumbnail? Could it be something that we could change in the description? We're not giving people the right chapters. Some videos just don't do well. You think they're going to do well, you put loads of effort in and they don't do well, and you've tried new thumbnails, new titles, things like that, and they still don't do well, and you just have to move on to the next video. That is the nature of the game of YouTube. But just like that, you can also have videos that you didn't think were going to do very well be the ones that hit 1 million views. And the easiest way to deal with that whole situation is just to keep making content, because you're rolling the dice more and more frequently. If you roll the dice 100 times, you're much more likely to get a 6 than if you just roll it once and then just keep trying to adjust it so that it lands on a 6. Just keep giving yourself opportunities for videos to do well. Keep learning about what is considered, good for the YouTube algorithm, good for your audience, how to make better thumbnails, like all of these things. If you do it multiple times, you're going to get better at doing it, and you're going to learn more about what your audience does and doesn't like. And that is just, unfortunately, like one of the frustrating things about YouTube is some videos you think should be amazing, you've poured your heart and soul into, and they don't do well.
Yeah.
Every single creator has faced that. Like literally everybody. Another fun game that you can get into once you do start to have like a subscriber count and you're disappointed by, like I'll be disappointed if a video only gets 10,000 views. And then I have to remind myself like how happy I would have been to get 10,000 views back when I started. And it can be interesting to compare, like you're always comparing to other creators in your niche and things like that. But then you could go on any of the big channels, Casey Neistat or Marcus Brownlee. And if you look at how many subscribers they have compared to how many views they get, it's often, 10% or less than 10%. So there's absolutely no way that you're going to get your whole subscriber base watching every single video. And like I said, I've got a few videos that have hit over 1 million views and I don't have 1 million subscribers, but you can't predict which ones those are. I can just tell you that from the very start. Maybe Mr. Beast can when he makes Squid Games and spends 4 million on, but for my kind of content, I can't work out what's going to do well and what's not. And the easiest way and the best way for my mental health that I've dealt with it is just to keep making videos and treat that analytics as more of an exercise that you do once a week or once a month, where you look at a bunch of different videos and start to work out the trends as to what's working, what's not working, rather than the emotional investment of checking YouTube dashboard 30 minutes after an upload, an hour after an upload, 2 hours after an upload, and seeing it be a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 and just feeling bad. Like, it does just feel bad. And you hear so many YouTubers talking about that aspect of creating content.
Yeah, the mental health side is the struggle, isn't it? It's the same with short form. It's like, the stuff you think it is gonna bang and then it does awful, and you put so much effort into it, but then you just got to move on. You've just got to move on. I think some people are better at it than others. You've just got to realize that once it's done, it's done. Like, you can sit there and try and figure out why, or you can just think, do you know what, fuck it, on literally on to the next one, basically. Like, and I think once you can have that sort of mentality, it does so much better for your mental health, because you're not just stuck in the numbers all the time. Like, I know some people are. I am to some certain extent. I think every creator is to a certain extent.
I've definitely been there.
But it's like, how can you manage something? How can you work out a system in your head like that just stops you from doing that and just thinks, I'm not going to look at it. It's done. Cool. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're treating the whole thing with restraint. Like, I'm tempted to see how a video is doing straight after, but I know it's not good for me. And I've managed to build that into my routine now, where I won't look. I won't look at least for a day, hopefully for a couple of days. And then I'll go and think about, could we try a different thumbnail? Could we? Because then I'm treating it as an actual exercise where I'm thinking to myself, what could we change to help this perform better? Rather than being like, oh my God, I worked so hard on this. Why is the YouTube algorithm punishing me? And feeling upset, that's never going to help you become a better creator. So I know that there's like some Google Chrome plugins that you can get that strip everything out of YouTube, so you don't see view counts or subscriber counts or how a video is doing. Like, so I mean, if you're really struggling with always loading up the dashboard or what's it called, the YouTube app that you can, YouTube Creator app, YouTube Studio. Yeah, like some people check that all the time. I'm like, just get that off my phone. Like, nothing is that important for me to check the view count on.
One last question before then we wrap up, and it's quite a specific question. Like, what we've talking about. I noticed that when like you publish a YouTube video, it gives it a spurt of impressions, right? Like after a few days and stuff, and then it kind of tailors off. Like, when would you say is the right time to change the thumbnail and title? Like, what do you usually do? And would you ever change the thumbnail and title of a video that's a piece of evergreen content that's 2 or 3 months old that is not performing as expected, or would you not? Like, I'm always curious. Like, I've seen a few people say that like going back and changing your thumbnails could actually make a difference. So like, what are your thoughts on that, and how do you factor that in? Yeah,
I definitely think that's worth doing. Like going back and finding videos that aren't performing well that have been out for 2 months, because there's no risk there. Like, you also have loads of data to look at, so you already know like the past week, what's the average impressions that it's getting, click-through rate, view duration, and then you can make a change and you can actually look and see on the graphs in YouTube Analytics as to what's changing. That's something that I want to do more. Like, if I had a dedicated person in making thumbnails, and believe me, I'm always looking, but just don't seem to be able to find the right kind of person. But if I had somebody, that would be the first task that I'd get them to do. I'd go and give them any video of mine in the past 6 months that hasn't hit 100,000 views and be like, I'd love to see your idea of a different thumbnail for this. And then we'd have a look at how it did. As for how soon to do it, I've never done it super quickly, but some of the big creators do. You know, I've seen
Do that, okay.
Airac and Mr. Beast, really subtle changes on thumbnails, but within an hour. But I imagine that they have a much greater understanding of their audience and what a typical video looks like in terms of they can look at the graphs and instantly see this isn't normal. Let's make a change.
Yeah.
I just don't get that involved into the numbers. So I would go with the quickest time would be a couple of days, and the longest time as long as you want. If there's a video that you still think is really valuable and really good, but it's not getting the viewership that you'd hope, then go and make a change to the thumbnail title.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing, because I've got some videos that I think is valuable. It was when I just couldn't be fucked to do thumbnails and they just look shit, and I look and I'm like, can I change that? Well, it's like you kind of look on the graph and they're still getting impressions, not loads, but like still getting. And I presume the algorithm would work that if all of a sudden those 20 impressions it gets a day started turning into 10 converted views, then it will probably go, maybe this video is actually useful and we'll give it some more. My guess is that is what could happen if you change the thumbnail. So just like, I want to wrap up, like you kind of alluded to some different things in terms of you want to do short form and you're looking for a thumbnail editor, and I just wondering if there's like anything next for the Gaming Careers channel that you haven't already mentioned. Is there anything that you're looking to improve that's out of the norm of your kind of week to week like schedule of doing what you do? Like what is it that you really want to change over the next 6 months to a year and do differently?
I think consistency, and there's a couple of aspects of little things that I've done outside of the channel that I want to be more consistent. So the podcast, we have like should be weekly podcast talking about the live streaming industry. I'd love to make that like absolutely guaranteed every single Monday at this time. That is happening live, and it's going out on the platforms at the exact same time. Same thing with the newsletter. So I've got a pretty big newsletter actually that people have subscribed to. Again, kind of covering industry news, but also use it as a tool to promote my own videos, like when I release them. But it's never been on a weekly schedule. So I'd like to work on getting the right people in the right places to write that and create the content for it, so that can become a really valuable tool outside of promoting my videos. Like it could be something that anybody wants to subscribe to if they want to be up to date with what's happening in the world of live streaming and content creation. Because I think there's other newsletters that I've subscribed to that I think are really, really interesting in those ways, and I don't think anyone's doing it for this space yet. So those two aspects. In terms of videos, I'd love to get out and meet more people and cover like their streaming story and their studio and things like that. So it's a bit difficult being in the UK when so many of the streaming world is based in America, but I think that'd be I think people will be interested to see somebody's setup, but in a way that's not just like a tour of their setup, but it's also telling the story of how they go about their content creation days and how they plan content, or their story of how they became a content creator sort of mixed in.
Nice. Well, Pete, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. I really enjoyed the conversation. Any final words, or all good?
I've really enjoyed being on. Thanks very much for having me.
Sweet.
I could talk about this stuff all day, as you know.
Oh, same.
I'll just say to anyone listening, thank you for putting up with probably the two most monotone voices in this world. If this hasn't sent you to sleep, then you must be interested in the topics that we've been talking about. So drop the video a like and do all the right things for him.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, Pete, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Likewise. See you later, mate.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.